You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Dre Area Sports Show. I'm joined by Drew Forder and, of course, your host, yours truly, Andre Fernandez. I'm here as well. And, guys, today we're going to be talking about a lot of cool shit, mainly the San Francisco 49ers. And, we just had the Brock Purdy contract that was signed. We had his press conference yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that, Drew.
Yeah, I did. It was quite a day, man.
Quite a day, and he said everything that you want to hear. And so I was super happy to hear the things that he had to say. So we're going to get into that pretty much right off the bat. We're all going to talk a little bit about the Giants and the Warriors if we have time. We're going to go for about an hour. Drew's going to blow his way right through 45 minutes. It's like,
dude, I got to say, man, I love that intro, that little ooh, wah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're doing over there, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. So let's talk about the big story at hand, which is this one here. It's Brock Purdy. He signs a new contract, a contract extension. They agree to terms on a 5-year, $265 million contract extension, including 181 in total guarantees. The Niners and Purdy settle on $53 million per year. Drew, what do you think about this contract?
Well, I got to be honest, man. Like last year, I was one of those people where I know you had a lot of people on your show talking about this, but I was like, man, I don't know if he's the guy. I don't know. Like,
you're one of those guys.
I mean, but it was only, honestly, it was only for like 2 weeks. It was like 2 weeks where I was like, and it was because of the way, like the nature of how the season ended, like the Rams game when he misses a wide open Ricky Pearsall down the middle of the field. Like I felt like if we won that game, like crazily enough, like we actually could have had a chance for a wild card berth.
Well,
like
that was a pivotal game for us to make the playoffs, and they lost
not
that
a
game.
Wild card division, but yeah, no, it was. And like, so I was frustrated. I was pissed off. I'm like, dude, like he doesn't look right. He doesn't throw the deep ball well. He can't throw the ball when, there's bad weather. I started thinking about Alex Smith, how he has small hands. And I'm just like, I don't know if this is the guy. But then like, after the season ended and the dust settled a little bit, I'm like, we have to sign Brock Purdy.
Yeah, you have to sign Brock Purdy.
Nobody else, right?
I mean, what are your options? You got
like
Mac Jones, Tanner Mordecai.
I mean,
Rourke.
In my head, I'm like, maybe they could pull off a Sam Darnold deal, but Seattle, Seattle took care of that, and they're gonna have, I'm not a big believer in Sam Darnold, to be honest with you.
I'm not either. I don't think they are either, because really what they're doing with Sam Darnold is they got him in there just to play quarterback while they hopefully can groom and develop Jalen Milroe, the quarterback they drafted, who for some weird, stupid reason, Jalen Milroe was actually there on day one of the draft and was just like, what are you doing here, dude? Yeah, and he went on day 2, so he just sat in the green room all day. I guess he got a front row seat for nothing. But yeah, no. And,
but overall, dude, like, I mean, just to answer your question, like, I think it was a great deal for the 49ers. I think, I'm glad that he's not the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, which would have been stupid. I think $53 million is a good amount. I think he's only going to be getting paid in the 40s or early 40s in the first year of the contract. So it gives them a little bit of that salary cap flexibility. And it still gives them, as we've seen this week, as they were able to sign Fred Warner, they obviously signed George Kittle. It gives them, and they had a great draft, I believe, for the most part. So I think that it gives them a chance to still be very competitive with the easy schedule this year and moving forward.
And absolutely. And we're going to look at some of his numbers in just a minute in terms of his cap hit with his new contract. But when you look at the amount of money that he took, I mean, obviously he left something on the table because he wanted to give the team the ability to keep adding players and to be successful. Unlike a guy like Dak Prescott, who basically went for as much as he possibly could and took over $200 million in guaranteed money in a state where there's no income tax. That's Texas. The guy's just raking in the money, and he's underperforming dramatically. So you know, he could have here. Pull it away from your face a little bit.
Am I breathing into the camera, into the thing?
Yeah, it's like a wind tunnel.
No, I'm trying to do a little Darth Vader for your show, man.
I love it. But no, like he could have totally have just gouged the Niners for all this money. He didn't do that because he wanted to get a contract that he felt that he was worth. At the same time, look, I think he understands if you go out there and you sign a contract closer to Dak Prescott, that comes with a lot of scrutiny. That comes with a lot of pressure. That comes with a lot of people having these subjective, reviews of expectations.
Unrealistic expectations.
Unrealistic expectations, because when you're making that much money, you have to be a goddamn superstar.
Yeah.
And so I think what he did was he took the right contract that represents his skills and abilities and still gives him that respect that the team has for him. And now he's a guy who comes back into camp, shows up at the facility around the players, and they're like, hey, this is not a guy that went for all, I'm getting $65 million now, guys. Check it out. No, he went for $53 million, and an amount that is still team friendly. So I commend Brock Purdy. I commend his agent, and I love that even when we got into the rookie mini camps, he was there. He was in the facility. He was talking, with the young players. And he said, even in his press conference, that he wanted to be there with the team. He wanted to be a part of everything that they're doing. That way he can build those relationships and also install, that leadership ability that, that he likes, that he craves. And so this is, look, I think everything he said, everything that he embodies, this is the kind of guy that you want as your quarterback of your franchise. And he's doing everything the right way.
And what I loved about his press conference, and what I love about all of his press conferences, is humility. It's his ability to understand that he's not the most important guy in the room. He's not the most important person on the field. He is really in reality, he's the heartbeat of this team. As any quarterback is on any NFL team, but he doesn't act like it, like you said. And I think the 49ers also did a great job with this. You didn't hear a lot of noise coming out of their facilities about this. And Brock Purdy even mentioned how much, and not necessarily in the press conference, but he mentioned this to the press, that he really appreciated that it didn't get ugly. The negotiations never got ugly. They never got to the point where it was, there was any kind of animosity between the two parties. And Michael Lombardi mentioned the other day, last week, he was talking to the media and on the radio, and he was talking about how they got this done 2 months earlier than he even anticipated.
Yeah.
So, now they can go, like you said, they can go into the OTAs next week. They can go into the into training camp, and he's going to have that continuity with his team. He's gonna have a much better, I believe, relationship with guys like Ricky Pearsall, and even some of the rookies that they've brought in, some of the rookie wide receivers that is going to be so important for them. Whereas last year, think about last year, Andre, what we were dealing with, right? We had the Brandon Ayuk saga, which was an absolute dude. It was just like on so many levels that brought the camaraderie of the team down, and like Debo was pissed, and they were all just like so like butthurt about it, and so they really hated each other. And then Trent Williams, he holds out, and he comes in out of shape. So you've got two of your pillars on offense that are not there. They're not available in training camp. They're not there in OTAs, and you've got Brock Purdy also on the last year of a rookie contract, or the second to last year of a rookie contract, where he's kind of like almost like you don't really know where you're at. And so there was a lot of uncertainty, and we had a difficult schedule, obviously, coming off of a Super Bowl win. So last year was just like a perfect storm of shit, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the amount of injuries too. It was so bad seeing how many players were going down with injuries. It was just out of control. And so when you lose a guy like Christian McCaffrey in your offense, who's basically one of the main the main players of your offense. The whole offense is built around Christian McCaffrey and his abilities, and that's why you saw so many plays where Deebo Samuel was lined up in the backfield because he's basically playing Christian McCaffrey in this play. But at the same time, when he's doing that, that means that, Brandon Ayuk has to now be the Deebo Samuel in this play, and then Juwan Jennings has to be the Brandon. Everyone has to move around and sort of fill in these new positions, and so it created a lot of it created a lot of problems. The timing's were off.
Inconsistencies, confusion.
Yeah. And if you watch a lot of their plays, their timing was way off. And it was because they were trying to do too much because they were filling in for a lot of missing players. And so it really played against them. And that's why I think that, getting Christian McCaffrey back this year is going to really, really improve Brock Purdy's numbers. Not that he solely relies on him, but for what McCaffrey does for your offense is going to open things up for Brock Purdy. Because let's face it, when Jordan Mason would go out into the flat for a pass, defenses didn't really pay attention to him. They're just like, nah, fuck him. And at the same time, the Niners didn't really throw him the ball at all. They threw it to him a few times, but not nearly as much as Christian McCaffrey. And so now that threat is back in week 1. And just going
back to Jordan Mason, like I thought our offense, while Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey, they are similar kinds of players when it comes to how they hit the holes. I thought our offense looked way different with Jordan Mason than it did with McCaffrey. We just didn't. There wasn't as much space out there, and I give a lot of credit to Jordan Mason. He had a great first half of the year last year, but obviously and we'll see how he looks this year on a different team. But again, Minnesota is a completely different kind of team, so we'll see how he looks there, but I think that he obviously ran out of steam. He wasn't able to take the workload that we were giving him. At the end of the year. And then what were we left with? Okay, Isaac Orindo and the other dude like Patrick, whatever. I mean, it's just like I don't know, man. We didn't have enough depth like we've had in the past at the running back position once Jordan Mason went down, and I think that really affected Brock Purdy, and it made him into a quarterback where he had to do more than he was capable of.
Absolutely. Strawberry Reacts writes, I don't think it needs to be CMC. It just needs to be a dynamic pass-catching running back. The offense looked great with Garendo. The offense looked great at times with Garendo, but Garendo needed to work on his blocking, which is something that I hope that he does in this coming this past offseason, because that was one thing, is that when pass rushers would come through, Garendo was not a very good blocker. So that's something that he really needed to improve on. But I did think that towards the end of the season, Garendo looked so much better hitting the holes and finding running lanes. When he first came in the league as a rookie, he looked terrible running the ball. And then each week he kind of got better and better and better. And then he got hurt at one point. So that was pretty rough.
But I think, to Strawberry's point, I think the organization has spoken with their actions to say, okay, we don't need Jordan Mason anymore this year. So we're going to move him. And we feel comfortable with Isaac Garendo as the backup running back. Yeah. And, and you're right. The pass blocking was awful.
It was awful.
So it just put so much more pressure on Purdy. Now you're talking, Dre, you're talking about Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be back. We'll see, let's see what he looks like when he comes back.
Yeah.
And hopefully Garendo can give him those spells that they need, and that they have some depth with their rookie draft picks that they have. But Garendo is going to be in a much better position as a backup with all that experience. And hopefully we don't have to lean so much on McCaffrey like we did last year. And like when he came back in that game against Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just can't lean on him that much and then expect him to not get hurt again.
Exactly. And look, right now McCaffrey's 28 years old. They need to make sure that, he's going to get a big workload because he's Christian McCaffrey, but he can't be a guy that you give the ball to that many times, that many touches. You got to get other guys involved. And we know that Garendo is a really good receiver. He played receiver in high school, and we saw him out of the backfield make some really nice catches and get a lot of yak yards as well because of his speed. So I like what Garendo can bring to the offense as long as they utilize him correctly. Let's take a look at Brock Purdy's numbers in terms of his contract numbers, because I think it gives you a really good idea of where his contract is headed and what they're going to do moving forward into the future. So let's go ahead and bring that up right now. This comes courtesy of the great John Chapman. In 2025, he'll make 9.1 million, 2026, 24.7, 2027, 30.8, and then in 2028, 57.6. Now, and it keeps going from there, 72, and then 64, all the way up to in 2030. But you got to believe by 2028, they're going to restructure his contract, turn a lot of that into signing bonuses, and then restructure that so it's less of a cap hit. So I think that what you're looking at is you're going to get 3 years of this contract, and then after that third year, they're going to restructure. I've heard a lot of heads out there saying, oh, this is more like a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, a 2-year prove-it deal. And if that doesn't work out, they're going to restructure, they're going to trade, or they're going to move on from Brock Purdy. I don't think so. I think this is set up like most contracts are, where after 2 or 3 years, you're going to restructure and you're going to reset your contract. Drew, what do you think about these numbers, and do you think that they're setting up for a 2028 restructure?
Yeah, I do. I think Parag Marathi and the team, I think they're always conscientious of the cap hits, especially down the road. I think I like the way they structured the contract, like I said, for the first 3 years of the deal. I think it's going to give them obviously a lot more flexibility than I even expected. I really do trust the team of the executives with this organization. They've proven like year after year that they've been able to restructure deals to be more cap friendly for the team. So I like it. I think my only concern, honestly, is Brock Purdy's performance. I mean, I look at it in terms of, okay, we know that this is the quarterback right now. Like he's the quarterback of the future, and they've proven that with this contract. They've shown that they trust him. I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have both expressed that they want to stay and stick with Brock Purdy. But we also know that the NFL is probably the most unpredictable professional sports league in the world, and things can change on a dime. And all you have to do is look at like you've mentioned, Dak Prescott. I mean, look at Dak Prescott and look what's happened with his injuries and also with his performance. Look at a guy like look at what's happened with the Atlanta Falcons. Just think about that for a minute, right? Like where did you think that let me ask you honestly, did you think that they were ready for Michael Penix last year? Was that their plan?
No, they had signed Kirk Cousins, and then I think at the 11th hour, they were like, hey, get Michael Penix. We need to get a young quarterback in here because this guy's getting old, and there is no long-term future with this guy. So I think that's what they ended up doing, and they really shit the bed on that, too, because you signed Cousins to a contract when you probably shouldn't even have done that.
And Kirk Cousins, go ahead. Kirk Cousins, like they were fully expecting Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback for the next 3 years. That was the expectation from the contracts that I've seen, like you mentioned, maybe even 3 to 5 years. So like that just shows. And Kirk Cousins is different than Brock Purdy, obviously, but they are, in my opinion, they are kind of similar in just the way, like their stature. And I know Brock Purdy's a little more mobile than Kirk Cousins, but that's similar. Not a real strong arm. They understand the offense. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, I think, wanted Kirk Cousins. I think that was someone that was on his radar.
He did. That was somebody he wanted. And that goes back to his days in Washington when he had, when they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins. I think at the end of the day, as the offensive coordinator, he liked Kirk Cousins more than he liked RG3, and I think that's what was really going on there. And
that's why he left.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think he probably told him, hey, if I ever get a head coaching job, I'm going to come calling for you. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You like that?
Of course, but it never happened, right? Like it never happened because of just the way his career path went. So the answer to your question is this: the NFL is unpredictable, and I'm not sitting here saying that Brock Purdy's not going to pan out. I mean, he's already shown that he can lead with a loaded roster a team to the Super Bowl. Okay, that was a loaded roster that year. Yeah, and the only reason they lost that freaking Super Bowl, I hate to go back to it, was because Dre Greenlaw got hurt. If Dre Greenlaw doesn't get hurt in that game, I swear to God, we win that game.
Oh, easily. Absolutely. Okay? I mean, he shut down the linebackers were shutting down Travis Kelce, and as soon as he went out, then they just started. Who was it? Oren Burks came in.
Yeah,
who's good.
Was okay, but
he was okay. He actually won a Super Bowl this past season with the Eagles.
He did.
Travis
So-
Kelce burned that guy play after play in that fourth quarter, and that was just tough to watch.
And in overtime.
And
So-
overtime as well.
So I'm just I just honestly think about that. I think that the NFL is very unpredictable. Brock Purdy could get hurt this year. You don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they structured the deal where they're not paying him as much money up front, although he did get quite a bit of guaranteed money. But that's good for him, so that he has his agent talked about this, that they have cash flow coming in. So even if he does get hurt, they have that insurance policy there. But the 49ers did go get Mac Jones this year to be the backup. So just in case, obviously we have a guy, and we still have Brandon, what's his face, who I don't like. But
Who?
do we still? Oh no, we got rid of him. We have Mordecai now, right, as the third string quarterback.
Tanner Mordecai, and there's
Tanner
Curtis
Mordecai.
Rourke, who they drafted.
Brandon Allen, I was talking about.
Oh, Brandon, yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. He
sucked anyway.
So we have. I feel like
Poor guy. He sucked
feel,
anyway.
And there are people like
He's crying watching this.
Dude, talk to Larry Kruger. Larry Kruger likes Mordecai. He likes him. Like,
yeah, he does. He does.
He actually talks about him. So I think it's good that we have a little bit of depth, and Mac Jones has proven that he can run an NFL team. I like. Do I like the deal? Yes. Do I love the deal? I don't know. I mean, I think we still have to see how he looks this year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his numbers from last season, he threw for 3,864 yards. He had 20 touchdowns and 12 picks. But what's funny is that last season, or I should say the season before this, when they went to the Super Bowl, he had 31 touchdowns and 11 picks. So his interceptions were virtually the same. It's just the amount of touchdowns that were way down. And we know they struggled in the red zone. They didn't have a lot of their stars, didn't have McCaffrey, didn't have a lot of these guys. And so here's the thing that I kind of want to bring up is that, people will say, well, he only had those good numbers because he was surrounded by all this great talent, right? But if you look at what he did last season, if he was a first-round draft pick, nobody would be saying, oh, this guy's a bust. No, they'd all be like, yeah, no, this guy's good. I mean, look, he had a lot of injuries, and he put up some good numbers, and he kept the team going. The problem is that he's Mr. Irrelevant. And so there's a lot of people out there that just want to see him fail, because some people love the underdog story. Some people hate the underdog story and want to see them just fail because they want the big names to be the stars. And so here we go with, if this guy was not round 7, pick number 262, if he was, a first round pick, second round pick, there'd be no argument that you got to keep this guy on your team at all, because you'd want this guy based on his production, based on the fact that he led the team to the fucking Super Bowl in 2 comeback wins against the Packers and the Lions. And honestly, if he hadn't gotten hurt against the Eagles, they might have beaten them too. He might have had 2 rounds of Patrick Mahomes. And who knows what would have happened? Because I think they were actually better the year before, because they had that sort of it was all coming together for them. And so
they were good that year too.
They were a hot team.
They were a hot team, but they ran into a buzzsaw, and then the injury, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I think he had a pretty good year last year, but I also want to touch on a few things. He while he only had 1 more interception last year than he did the previous year, think about some of those interceptions last year, and the nature of those interceptions, the timeliness of those interceptions. It felt like the interceptions hurt more last year. And maybe that's just because the team wasn't obviously as good. But man, I just keep going back to that Rams game. Like, that game was on a silver platter for us at home. Like, they had that game, and he just didn't make the throws. And I know maybe it was because of some of the miscommunication between routes, but he just looked like in my opinion, he made more crucial mistakes last year. So what I want to see from him is, and Tim Ryan has talked about this a lot. Tim Ryan, the color commentator for the Niners, Brock's got to be better. Brock also has to take responsibility for a lot of those throws that he missed. Dude, I mean, there was the Arizona game earlier in the year when they had the team, they had the players, and they lost that Arizona game at home. He
Yeah,
threw
that was a
2
rough one.
crucial interceptions in that game.
That was the hot day. The hot day. It was
That
super
was the
hot.
hot day.
Everybody was like,
But you go back to
give
that
me some
game.
water.
Yeah, I had a buddy that was at that game and he almost died. You go back to that game and just go back. Like if you're a Niner fan, go back and watch that game because he threw 2 crucial, just really bonehead interceptions in that game. And those are the kinds of games that you have to win in this division. And I know everybody's talking about the easy schedule. I've been talking about it, but you still got to go out and win the games.
You have to execute.
You have to execute. And that if they win that game, they're not 6-8. They're 7-7 going into that Rams game. Into the Rams game. So it's like and then maybe you have a chance for the division. And that was a game where they had Christian McCaffrey. They had the players available to them. So I need to see more from Brock Purdy this year.
Absolutely, guys. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break from a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a little more Brock Purdy. We have a clip from his interview today on KMBR, which was really good, and he had something pretty powerful to say that I think will surprise a lot of you guys. You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, and we'll be right back. Where is the thing at? All right. Well, yeah, here it is. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
The Dre Area Sports Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. And we are also brought to you by Taryn Roy, the SEO Optimizer. If you're looking to boost your YouTube channel, then check out the SEO Optimizer. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to start your free trial today. Power Brand Systems. If you're looking to build a website for your small business or YouTube channel, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase at Power Brand Systems.
So Brock Purdy was on with KMBR talking with Brian Murphy on Murph and Marcus, and this was the clip that I wanted to show you guys. Let's go to it, and you can hear this right here.
In the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Let's start over.
Are you a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
Yes, sir.
So we make lists all the time, That's all we do here on Sports Talk Radio. Like, is that like something you hear about?
Like lists and stuff.
Yeah, like you put yourself amongst your peers.
Yeah, no, I think for sure I'm a top 10 quarterback.
Wow.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna, create a list or anything right now. So.
All right. Now the negative one, your O-line gets criticized by fans a lot. Really does. Like we sit here every day and we do the show, and everybody's like, "Man, I'm so happy Warner's back. I'm so happy Kittle's back. I'm looking forward to a healthy McCaffrey." So many fans are so excited that you got your deal done and you're such a team player. But they say, man, if only he had an offensive line. What do you say to the fans out there who say your offensive line isn't good enough?
No, man, it's, every game and situation is so different, and things happen and whatnot. But those guys up front, man, I can tell you, like, they are war daddies. Like, every single day, they're coming to work, getting better. I've got their back. They've got mine. And no, we're going to be just fine. And these guys here, man, have what it takes to have a successful season. And everybody's going to find out soon. I've got their backs, man, and it's nothing but love. And I really do believe in these guys. I'm not just saying that to say that. Like, these guys have taken the next step this offseason, and we're all going to continue to grow together.
So that was Brock Purdy on with Murph and Marcus on KNBR. If I can get back to my screen here. Drew, what did you think about that little clip of Brock Purdy?
when he's like, I am a top 10 quarterback, and Brian Murphy's like, okay.
You
like,
are?
Like he didn't know how to react. No, like I think the confidence is great. I think, Brock Purdy, he's one of the things that makes him a successful quarterback is his ability, his positive encouragement for himself and his teammates. So I love it. I just think, again, we've got to really see it this year. Like, I think this year is probably the most important year for this team. I think, I'm a nostalgic kind of guy. So the Super Bowl is in Santa Clara this year. We have an easy schedule. I think, there's just war daddies. I think there's a lot of reasons to think that this could be a really special year for the 49ers, but we've thought that before and things go back, go sideways really quickly. So I want to see it. And I like the fact that he said at the end of the clip, he said, everyone's going to see it. And he's got that chip on his shoulder. And that part of that is the Mr. Irrelevant. Part of that is his size, his stature, but he also comes in every year prepared. Like, he works out. He's been working on his lower body strength. We've seen that. I think last year was a little bit of a kind of a digression for him. Just
regression.
I'm sorry, regression for him. Just a little bit of kind of some issues that he had with injuries. He had to miss a few games, which hadn't happened in the past, other than the major injury that he had against Philadelphia. So let's see how his body holds up. He's got a full training camp. He's got full OTAs. I like the confidence. I want my quarterback. It's like Stephen A. Smith always says, my quarterback. Or Shannon Sharp, I want my quarterback.
Or Terrell Owens.
I want
That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
I want my quarterback to be, the most confident guy in the huddle, and Brock Purdy has shown that. So let's see it. And
of course, Drew touched on this earlier, but I wanted to bring it up again, is that, the Niners were not done. I mean, they even went out and they restructured, or they gave an extension to Fred Warner. A 3-year, $63 million extension that includes over $56 million in guaranteed money. He's now the highest paid linebacker in the NFL, and rightfully so. Because I always say this, that Fred Warner is the closest thing that there is to a real life superhero. Probably him and like Josh Allen, I think, are like real life superheroes and what they can do. So I was stoked when I heard that they got this deal done so early at that. And it goes to show you that San Francisco, they learned from last season. They said, hey, look, we don't want to go down the same path we went down last season. Let's get these big contracts done early and let's get them into camp. And then everyone's settled in and they're ready to rock. And you could say, well, he still had 2 years left on his deal, but that, dude, just not having him signed with 2 years left, you still got players talking to him about it. They're talking amongst each other like, hey, so what's up? Are you going to resign with us? I don't know, man. That's not up to me. It's up to my agent. That talk doesn't even exist anymore. Now it's just strictly about football. It has nothing to do with contract talk from three of your biggest players in Purdy, Kittle, and Fred Warner. To me, I love the fact they got all three of these done. This has been probably one of the best off seasons they've had in a while. Drew, what do you think about the Fred Warner deal? And were you surprised it got done so early?
No, I wasn't. I think they've made a huge commitment to this offseason to get back on track. And they showed that. I loved that they signed George Kittle. I love that they did that early, because that could have been an issue going into training camp and OTAs. And you're right. Fred Warner, dude. I mean, Fred Warner is freaking Patrick Willis. I mean, he might be better than Patrick Willis. We're talking about an all-time linebacker, one of the best like players that the 49ers, honestly. I mean, you can go down the list, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, but I mean, Fred Warner, honestly, is one of the greatest 49er athletes, players that has ever put on a uniform. So he deserves to be the highest paid linebacker in the history of the NFL. Mm-hmm. In the NFL, it's great that he's going to have a positive mindset going into the season. I love that there's going to be no drama going into the offseason. As of right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be any drama. And honestly, dude, I hate to say this, but I was not feeling Deebo Samuel. I was not feeling him the last couple of years. Like, his attitude, his especially last year. You go back to that Rams game. He makes that catch down the middle of the field on the slant route. We win that game, and maybe we go to the playoffs. But he drops it, and he drops it after talking all week about how
all that shit.
The ball.
Yep.
So I am so happy that Deebo's gone. I mean, I think he's going to be a good fit with Washington, which is fine, and they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. But with Jaden Daniels, but. What do we need as an organization? We need to get back to the stability, to the culture, that positive and winning culture that we have. Last year we lost it. It was a tough year, but you know what? In 2021, we lost it. Remember? We had a bad year after going to the Super Bowl. It was the
Yeah.
COVID year. Or
Everybody was
2020,
hurt.
2021, everybody got hurt. What did we do? The next year we came right back and we
Yeah.
were competitive again, and we got back to the NFC Championship game. So it's not, and we did it with Jimmy. So we're not talking about an unrealistic jump for us to get back into the race. We've got teams like Dallas who, you just don't know what Dallas is going to look like. We don't know what Philly's going to look like coming back after a Super Bowl. It's always hard to come back after a Super Bowl. Our division looks like we could be easily dominate this division just from what I'm seeing. And, otherwise obviously Detroit is going to be a formidable opponent, but I think the 49ers can get back to that this year. And the most important thing is that we stay healthy, but that we have that kind of camaraderie and positive climate and culture within the organization. It's so necessary. And it was what carried us for the last 4 years.
Well, and we talked about too, like, the moment we got Christian McCaffrey, one of the biggest things was if he ever goes down, man, that's going to hurt. And what happened last season? He went down, never really came back. He did come back for a few games, but he was never really himself, and he got hurt, and he was done. He did say though that if they would have made the playoffs, that he would have been ready for the first round of the playoffs. That's great. I'm sure Steph Curry would have been ready for the next round of the playoffs as well. But still, McCaffrey's a huge component to their offense.
Christian McCaffrey's a warrior, but
he's a warrior.
But we also have to protect him because
he's a Cardinal.
He's a Cardinal. I have a bobblehead of him in a Stanford uniform. I almost forget that he went to Stanford. But you have to, the 49ers have to protect Christian McCaffrey.
Absolutely.
They have to. And that's why they were able to draft a running back. They have Isaac Orendo. So I hope that they can do that. But regardless of that, the fact that we don't have that Ayuk and Trent Williams drama going into the regular season, because that debilitated our team last year. Absolutely. We were not ready for the season. We beat the Jets in week 1 and played like shit. Okay. And then went out and literally blew a game against the Rams where Juwan Jennings went crazy. And from that moment on, honestly, the season was dog shit. They just didn't have it. So I don't want to see that this year. I want to see a team that is cohesive, that Kyle Shanahan has a pulse on. I felt like last year he never really got a pulse of his team. And you could see it in his post-game pressers. You could see it in just the way they were communicating. And then, of course, our defensive coordinator was a fucking idiot last year.
Oh, yeah.
He was a moron.
Nick Sorensen was that was awful.
So our defense was out of position. We were playing zone defense when we should have been in man. We were totally discombobulated the whole season. So Nick Sorensen is gone, and look who's coming back: Robert Saleh.
Saleh.
And then look who they draft. They draft their boy Michael. So they know exactly who they wanted. They were cohesive in their decision in who they wanted, so they could have a pass rush on the other side opposite Nick Bosa.
Yeah. No, and they've set themselves up for success this season, knowing that they were going to get a much easier schedule because they finished 4th in the division. They knew that was going to come their way. And so by trimming all the fat of all these other players that they brought in to try and make another run, they said, hey, let's get rid of these guys. Let's rebuild the defensive line and spend our money on re-signing our key free agent or soon-to-be free agent players, and that's what they did. The next player they're going to sign, probably based on the way he plays this season, would be Juwan Jennings, because right now, JJ and Ricky Pearsall make up the core of our receiving core with no Brandon Ayuk and obviously Deebo Samuel gone. Now, you talked about Deebo Samuel earlier. I think it's a good thing that he's gone because I think he represented, to me at least, he more or less represented the Jimmy Garoppolo era. They were successful under the Jimmy Garoppolo era, but it's almost like he got there so many times and failed twice, and in the NFC title game twice. And I think that it just became one of those things where it's time to move on. The guy had this sort of chip on his shoulder, even though he's never won the big game. Now, let's just say they won 2 Super Bowls. Well, then he could talk that way and act that way because, well, he's a 2-time champion, even if they won it once. But he never did, and I think that it was just kind of sour grapes, and they said, you know what, he wanted to get out because he made an ass of himself last season, talking all that shit and then dropping those passes in the Rams game, which essentially cost us the season right there. So look, I love Debo, but I'm glad he's gone because they need something different. And on top of that, he didn't have that explosive ability. He couldn't turn the corner like he used to on the handoffs. Now he was dealing with a rib injury and a few other injuries, but who's not? All these players are dealing with massive injuries. Fred Warner fractured his ankle
and played
in week 3 and played every single game.
Never missed a game.
And that's just incredible.
He even played in the last week of the season.
He did.
I mean,
he didn't have to,
unbelievably,
but he was like, "Oh, I'm feeling better now. I might as well stay in."
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He was a warrior, dude.
Absolute warrior. So I'm really excited to see what San Francisco does in the season coming up. I want to see what guys like Alfred Collins, CJ West, and Mykel Williams bring to the defensive line. I think that our run defense is going to be so much better than it was last season. I think our defense is going to be so much better than it was last season because, for one, we got Robert Saleh back in the back in the booth, or I should say on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then we also got Gus Bradley as well, who was a former defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, worked with Saleh on two different places. So no, this is a great pairing. And on top of that, we got Brant Boyer, a new special teams coach. There was a stat that I might have missed. Strawberry Reacts brought up yesterday. The Niners had, I think, the 4th ranked offense in the league, but they had the 32nd ranked special teams and the 29th ranked defense. If those two rankings were higher, and let's say we had a middle of the pack special teams and not even a top 10 defense, just like a top 15 defense, totally different story. But the defense, they couldn't stop anybody.
Every game, I was just waiting for a fumble, for a mistake on special teams, for 3 missed field goals, for a missed extra point, for a block punt, for somebody running a fake punt against us, and it happened almost every single fucking week last year. Special teams literally killed us, and I think Kyle Shanahan went gray because of special teams last year. If you look at him now.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's why they got rid of Brian Schneider, because they said, "Hey, dude, you got to go." Unfortunately, so many of these games, took a shit because special teams failed multiple times a game. And not to mention the whole Jake Moody missing every fucking kick, it seemed like.
Well,
so
he's going to be back this year, so
he'll be back. But they did sign Greg Joseph, who will be competition for him for that position. I do think that Jake Moody has the edge over him because he's a 3rd-round pick. But one of the questions I want to ask you is, how many kicks can Jake Moody miss in the preseason before they say, "Okay, we got to move on"?
Oh man, I haven't seen Joseph, so I'm not sure exactly what he's going to look like. But I would say like he misses 2. Or even, if he misses 3 kicks in the preseason, I wouldn't put him out there in week 1. I don't trust him. And at some point it becomes mental as a kicker too. And, I'm a golfer, you start getting the yips out there. So we cannot afford, and Kyle and his team, they cannot afford to have any miscues on special teams this year. They really need to polish their special teams because in my opinion, and maybe Strawberry would agree, I think they easily could have been 10-7 last year. Easily.
Yes, absolutely.
Not even just a couple plays here and there, and they could have easily been 10-7. So I expect them to win 11 or 12 games this year and to do that.
Okay, so last question before we wrap things up. Let me ask you, what is your prediction of the Niners this season? What do you predict their win-loss record will be at the end of the season?
I think it's going to be either 11-6 or 12-5. I do. Hold on one second. I think I got to go, dude. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting the knock. Okay.
Okay. Drew, thank you so much.
I think 11-5 or 12-6, but I think it's going to be a good season for the team. And but we just need to see how they look in the preseason and through training camp for sure. But thanks for having me today, man.
All right, Drew. Thanks a lot, man. So that was Drew Forder, former Cron 4 associate. He had to go because he's about to start work. But no, I agree. I think 3 kicks. If Jake Moody misses 3 kicks, he's done. And I don't blame the Niners for doing that. And that's to say that Greg Joseph makes all of his kicks. If he makes all of his kicks and Moody misses 3, it's game over for Jake Moody. And it's sad because he was a 3rd-round pick, and he's got an extremely strong leg. He's just inaccurate. I mean, when he kicks that ball, I don't think he even knows where it's going. So that's something that they have to look out for, and making sure that if he's going to stick around, he has to make his kicks. I mean, I will say this, though. He did make all of his kicks in the Super Bowl when I thought he was going to miss all of them. So there is that. But guys, that's going to do it for the Dre Area Sports Show. I want to thank Drew Ford for coming out here again and having a banger of a show with me. I want to thank Strawberry React, Steve-O, everyone who was in the chat. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this channel to 2,000 subscribers by the time we reach the NFL season. I'm at 1,500 right now, so any help would be amazing. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by joining us over on Patreon. The link is down below, or go to my website, which is nicotina.net. That's the homepage for all three of my YouTube channels. And you'll find memberships available under Dre Area Sports. They start as low as, I believe it's $1, maybe $3, but still, it's a great way to support the channel, and it gives you access to my my community online where I post videos, post news and rumors. So definitely check that out. Like I said, Patreon or my website, nicotina.net, and become a member. It's well worth it, you guys. And having said that, guys, I want to thank everyone who came out here. I'll be live again definitely next week on Wednesday. I might go live later again today or tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And I'll be posting clips and videos throughout the week. So definitely stay locked in the channel for more news and updates for the San Francisco 49ers. From Drew, from myself, thank you to everyone who tuned in today, and we'll catch you guys next time. Oh, wait. I almost screwed that one up. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace! Thank you for watching this video. If you want more of this content, then check out some of these recommended videos right here on your screen. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by going to my website, which is nicotina.net, and there are memberships available under Dre Area Sports.